So this is the main screen that you'll see when you log into Social Studio. And for me, because I'm a super user and have access to every workspace that the VA possesses, I have this really big, long list of workspaces here that I can hop into. Yeah, there's a lot of them now. But you will see, like I said, you'll see those two workspaces that I showed you at the top, Dev Affairs and DME Interns. Now, when you click on one, this is what you're going to see. In here, you'll see all of our social media content. It's on a calendar. And notice you'll see some differences. Facebook is like kind of a darker blue. So Facebook is blue. Instagram is, what is it? It's kind of like sorry, my puppy making noises. So here's Instagram. You can see that that's Instagram. And here's Twitter. It's just like this teal color Twitter. So Instagram seems to be like a darker bluish. Facebook is kind of a little lighter shade of a blue, and then Instagram is like a teal. I mean, Twitter is a teal color, and that's just how you can identify them on the calendar. Do you know what particular tasks you're going to be doing in Social Studio, McKenna?
I'm not completely sure. I know I'll be scheduling tweets, but I don't really know what that looks like.
Oh, that's fine. Well, why don't we go over that? Here, I set up a little testing workspace so that we can schedule stuff without worrying that we're going to screw something up. So notice it's called Testing Workspace. I don't think I've invited any interns in here. Now, one of the things that you're going to notice is that you don't have actual capability to publish, and that's because when you are, here, I'll go back to the Dev Affairs workspace. When you are invited to a workspace, you don't have, by default, you don't have permission to do much of anything, honestly. You don't have the permission to engage, and you don't have the permission to publish. So if I was to search for McKenna, notice, limited member, cannot publish, cannot engage. So if for anybody who's adding a person to a workspace to begin with, just keep in mind that, you can rest assured that they can't immediately, not only would you rest assured that they can't immediately do stuff, you might have to keep in mind that they can't immediately do much of anything because they're set to limited members and they don't have permission to do really anything yet. So if you don't want them to be able to publish or engage, then that's good because that's the default. But if you do want them to be able to publish and engage, then you're going to have to go in here and modify their settings. For you, McKenna, you're not going to get any permission to publish or engage. However, that doesn't mean that you are completely without any ability whatsoever. And that will take us back to the testing workspace where I will go ahead and I'm going to invite you here so you can play around if you want without worrying about annoying anybody. So I'm gonna add you in here and you can kind of mess around a bit. McKenna, there you are. And oh no, this is in the way. Go. All right. Now you're in here, and I will give you some publishing permissions in here. If you want to play around. Actually, give me you know what? You actually don't need to have publishing permissions in here. You will have publishing permissions inside of your DME Interns workspace once they give it to you. But one thing that you can do while you're inside of that workspace, the testing workspace, and any other workspace for that matter, is you can create drafts. So if I was to set up a tweet, actually I'll go back back to the basics here. If you want to create a tweet, there are two ways to start that process. Two main ways that I know of. The first way that I like to use is to click on the calendar. And the reason that I like to do that method instead of the other way is because when I click directly on the calendar itself, I'm able to pick a day and a time on which that piece of content is going to go out. So by clicking on the calendar, it removes the necessity to complete the additional step of choosing a day and time on the calendar or on the post for that piece of content to go out. It's not a whole lot of time that you're saving by doing that, but it's some time, and it accumulates over the course of a year or so. If you're depending on how long you're doing this, you could have saved 30 seconds, for every single post you've done for a year. It's it adds up. So, but there is a reason why you might not want to pick a day and a time, and that would be because you want to publish something now. And if you want to publish something right now, then there's this bright green button right over here called Create Content, and you can click that one to start the process. And it will default to publish now rather than, scheduled for a particular day and time. So that's the difference between the two methods for creating content. One is you click on the calendar and you choose the platform that you want to publish for, which for you, what I hear is you're going to be doing content for Twitter. And then the other one is to go over here and click this green button and then choose the platform that you're publishing for. And the only difference really is that one chooses a day and time for you and the other one doesn't. Now, let's say we use the green button version. Just because you did it that way doesn't mean that you can't choose not to publish right now. Like, you can change your deployment process to schedule from Social Studio, at which point you could go the next step and choose a day and a time that that post will go out. But, just know that there's a way that you can avoid having to do that extra step by just clicking directly on the calendar and choosing the platform, and that will automatically choose a date and time for you. And now, so once you choose the platform, and like I said, feel free to ask any questions along the way. I don't mind. You can ask them in chat if you want. I believe I have a chat box open. Yeah, there we go. Cool. And so once you have this open and you're ready to compose a tweet, the first thing you should do is choose which account you want to post to. And the reason that it has this step is because there are some workspaces that may have more than one Twitter account. In fact, or Facebook, or whatever, what have you. I've got a workspace, I believe, that has like 8 or 9 different Facebook accounts connected to it. And so you want to choose which one it publishes on, or you might even want to choose all of them. It's really up to you. But while you can choose more than one Twitter account, you can't choose Twitter and a Facebook account for the same piece of content. I don't know if that's a feature that's going to happen eventually, but it's kind of it would be a little kludgy. I don't know what the proper word is for it, but it wouldn't work so well because of the different character lengths that you have to compose for. Let's see. I'm going to mute you for a second, McKenna, because I'm hearing some background noise. All right. Feel free to hop off mute if you need to ask a question. Sorry, I'm just getting some background noise. But so you choose post to and choose your platform and which account that you want. So we're already scheduling something for Twitter, and then you're just choosing which account that you want to go from. And then you write your content. So this is an example of Twitter content. And then you would upload any images that you might have. I don't know if I have any images. Here, there's a pretty picture. Yay. And then it's got this little notice. This is new. I didn't notice this before, but it says, please be advised that the files you have uploaded will be available across the tenant. I think that just means that, the rest of the people using Social Studio can have access to this picture. I don't know. That must be a new thing because it didn't used to tell me that, but whatever, no big deal. I think also on Twitter, there's this little, I think it's a guy talking right here, and you can describe the photo. And this is for accessibility purposes, and if you're not familiar with accessibility, it has to do with the ability for people with disabilities to comprehend what's going on in social media or what's happening in the piece of content that you're sharing. So if this looks like a picture with different colored circles, well, maybe you could describe it. Picture showing different colored circles. I don't know what those circles are. It just looked like a pretty picture to share. So, but this is so, for instance, if somebody is blind and you have a picture of a veteran saluting, a gravestone or something like that, you can actually click in here and describe what's in this picture so that, somebody who is blind might actually have some idea of what's in the picture that you shared. Otherwise, they have no idea what's in your picture. So, and then, it's not all necessarily only for blind people. Some people just have difficulty seeing, have bad eyesight, or maybe even colorblind. People that are colorblind may not be able to get the full context of a picture because maybe it's in the wrong color, so they can't see the whole thing. So anyway, that's what this is for. And then labels. Labels are very, very, very important. And you'll want to talk to Atifa McKenna. You're going to want to talk to her to find out like what kind of labels they're using, because labels are useful for when you're after the fact going through and creating reports. They're basically kind of like a hashtag, but this is how I always describe them, as like a hashtag for the back end of Social Studio, and it allows you to organize content by topic. And nobody in the public is going to see your labels. These exist within the back end of Social Studio, but you are able to add labels to tell yourself and other people on your team, and I guess across VA, what this content is about. And the reason that it's very helpful, I'll actually show you. So let's say this picture represented Veteran of the Day. Actually, there might be an art. Is there an art one in here? Hey, art, cool. So we made this is a post about art, and I'm gonna schedule it. It's already ready to go. I'm gonna go ahead and click schedule. And let's say I got a bunch of stuff on my screen, and I want to just see the stuff that has to do with art. Well, if I click this art button, I've just filtered down to nothing but art. So McKenna, when you get to working with workspaces like the DME workspace, that is going to come in handy if you ever need to track down a particular piece of content, because if you'll notice, we got a lot of stuff going on. So these little things right here on this left sidebar, not the far left here, but this little bar right here, these are very useful, and they're filters. So if you're just doing Twitter and you want to narrow down to just some tweets, click on this Twitter thing and you will only see tweets now. It filters out all the other stuff except for tweets. And then if you uncheck it, you can open it back up to everything. And the same works for every other platform as well. If all you wanted to see was Instagram, check the Instagram button, and now you're filtered down to just Instagram. These little yellowish orange things, I think it's orange actually, now I think about it. These little orange things, these are notes. So you can actually add notes to the calendar. It's weird because the icon right here is purple, but it ends up being orange. I don't know why. I didn't design the system, but anyway, it's orangish, and that's a note. So they show up because they don't really fall into any of these filters, so they just kind of stay there the whole time, regardless of what filter you add. But anyway, so if you want to filter by social account, you can do that. Another useful thing to do is, for instance, McKenna, if you wanted to find a particular tweet that you scheduled, but you don't know where it went, you can't remember what day and time it was, you just know it was one that you did, you can come down here all the way to the bottom, and well, it's way down here because we use a lot of labels, and you can pick the author. So if you were the author of the post, then you can check the box and find just your stuff. So notice this is for Tanner, and Tanner's stuff is on Monday, and that's pretty much all he had for the week so far. And that makes it a lot easier for Tanner if he wanted to find his post and like go make an edit or update the link or I don't know, anything. Instead of trying to find like, oh man, where is it? I know it's in here somewhere. He can just go and check the box next to his name, and then there it is right there. It's easy to find. And then the same thing as well with labels. These are all labels. Every one of these. And notice the ones that are grayed out, they weren't used. They weren't used in this time frame that's represented on the calendar. If you go back a week or forward a week, you might find that they are no longer grayed out. But if they're not represented on the calendar, then you won't see them. They will be faded out. But notice this is volunteering. If you want to find a piece of content about volunteering, boom, it's right here. I just filtered it down to only the volunteering related content. So these labels are very useful for that as well. Another reason that labels are useful is if you see this little heartbeat looking thing right here, if I wanted to run a report and McKenna, this might be something that if you ever work with a social analytics team that you might end up doing. If I wanted to run a report based on labels, I click this little heartbeat or graph-looking thing, and then I scroll all the way down to the bottom, and you can click. You can choose a particular platform, or you can choose all posts, and then you go to Show Filters, and then you type in a filter. So match any of these labels. Well, what's a good label that we use? Hashtag Veteran of the Day. We got a lot of stuff for this, and then you choose a date range, and you can choose particular content types, but I'm not going to. Then if you apply the filters, you can get a list of every post that you published that has that particular label in it. And notice I can load more. If I want to, I can export this to a comma-separated values file, and that's actually something you can open up in Microsoft Excel, and then you can, add some formulas, make some charts, pie graphs and whatnot, pivot tables if you want. So that's a way that you can, especially if somebody's running a campaign, if it's like Black History Month or military sexual trauma awareness, or what was it, Vietnam Veterans Day, or I think they have a day or a week or something like that for Vietnam veterans now. But if you had a campaign about something and you wanted to get engagement numbers for engagement metrics for that campaign itself, then if you added labels, see, none of this works if you don't add labels to your posts. If you were very good, very consistent about adding labels that are appropriate for each piece of content, then you can easily create a report and export it right here, and then you can tell your higher ups, hey, this is all of our engagement metrics for that entire campaign, and you can just export it as one big file and then write up a report on it. So that's why labels are very important. So let's see, I'm back in the testing workspace. Notice this thing is scheduled to go out at 4:30. This is what it looks like when it's scheduled on the calendar, but McKenna, you're not going to be doing a lot of scheduling. What you're going to be doing is a lot of drafts. So because you don't have permission to actually publish, so you can't really schedule from Social Studio, what you're going to do is click this link right here. Don't click this link because you can't. It's probably going to be grayed out, might not even be there. You're going to save as a draft. And you can tell just by looking what is and is not a draft. Notice once you save as a draft, it kicks you over to the drafts folder. And then if you look in the calendar, where it used to be like a bright teal, now it is sort of grayed out. It doesn't have all that background color that it used to. Just to make sure, are you guys still able to hear me? Is this thing working?
Hey, Dom, I hear you.
Okay, cool. I was talking to myself for a while. Oh, okay. McKenna says yes. Great. Cool. So this is what it looks like when a piece of content is scheduled, but is drafted, is in draft form, but not scheduled. And it's useful to know this because, and especially for you, McKenna, and I guess Mason, if you're listening, because that means that it's not going to publish. And so you don't have to sit there and worry, oh my gosh, this is, I made that tweet, is it going to go live? Did I screw it up? You can't screw it up. It's not going to publish because it is a draft. If I was to go, and this is the way that we usually do this kind of stuff. So if you create a tweet, you don't have permission to save it, to schedule it. You have permission to save it as a draft. And it's our job then, as managers of this workspace, for the DME workspace, to look at what you've written and, make changes as we see fit. We will go through and maybe update your, the language that you use to maybe, because sometimes, we're in the military and we know what our acronyms are, and maybe you might have used one wrong, or, AP style, I don't know. I'm not really big on that, but I know the other guys on the team are, so, they just might make some modifications, or they just know something that's going to get us in hot water if we say it a certain way. So also, if we say something incorrect, like our followers are veterans and they know all military stuff. If you were to say something related to the military that wasn't correct, they will hop on that real quick. So It's not your responsibility, and don't ever, like, if you ever make a mistake writing up a post and save it as a draft, you did your part, and it's our job to catch any mistakes. So if there was a mistake, don't worry. It's not going to go out until we've reviewed it and actually scheduled it. So if I saw this on the calendar and I wanted to schedule it, I would click edit, and I would, I would go in here and edit your content. This is an example of some amazing Twitter content. Maybe I wanted more descriptive, and then I would click, actually click schedule from Social Studio. And now you'll notice this thing is in full color, and it's going to go out. So this thing is going to publish, and I've made my changes, so it's good to go. Notice my filter is still applied. If you still have if you want to get rid of a filter, click Reset All, and it will undo all of the filters that you've added. How far out should we be drafting content? What's the lead time? All right. So
Darren, I want to say thanks for inviting me. I'll keep these in mind in future weeks. You're awesome. You know this product inside and out. I got to jump to another call, so keep rocking, brother.
Right on. Thanks, Brett. So as far as how far out you should be drafting content, McKenna, I think that's going to be up to Atifa and or whoever's in charge. I think I'm not sure how long she's going to stick with us, but you're going to have to ask her like how far out we're going to be drafting this stuff. Also, keep in mind, and I don't think I actually showed it to you yet, but you guys have your own social media accounts for the DME Interns channel, and I think as far as how far out to schedule content for this is completely up to you guys. So notice there's stuff already on this calendar, and you guys can be writing and publishing. This is not something that I monitor personally. You're gonna have to keep track of this and write your own content and share your own content. But so I think they try to be have a week worth of content here, but you can actually schedule out as far as you want, to be honest. Although you're going to want to keep it not too far out, because then it's no longer relevant. I think at our peak, we've had probably 2 to 3 weeks worth of content scheduled out in advance. And so, hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, thank you. That was helpful.
Yeah, sorry, I had to. One of my children was like standing over my shoulder over here. Anyway, so yeah, that's how you schedule a tweet. This is the calendar right here. Let's see. There's different views here. If you look at here's the overview, and this kind of shows you the entire day worth of content, and everything's kind of, you see the full text of every post. You don't see the pictures, but you do see the full text. Then you have a day view if you want to see just, the content for the day, and I think it does a little summary. And then you can hover over it to see the text. And then what I was looking at was the week view. There's a month view. To me, the month view isn't very helpful. It just, it's like, okay, there's 3 items there. That's great. Oops, I forgot to show you the list view. Here, I'll show you the list view. So there's a couple ways to get back to the calendar when you're somewhere else. One way is to click this publish, and the other way is to click calendar. So right here is the calendar icon, and if you click that, it'll take you back to this calendar. And then here's the list view, and it might be useful. I don't ever use it. I don't like it, but I mean, people have different tastes. This is the list view. And I believe it's in chronological order. Looks like what is about to post, and then the further out you go, the further it is from time to post it. So 7 hours, 9 hours, you get the idea. But so those are the different views. Here, sorry, I'm supposed to go back to week. Yeah, cool. right here, these are some, this right here is the drafts folder. So I showed that to you. Every time you save something as a draft, it's going to end up in the drafts folder. It also, if it has a date and time associated with it, it will show up on the calendar as well. But if you ever want to go and look specifically for, at your drafts, you can hop right in here and look at the drafts in the drafts folder. I already showed you this performance tab. You can use that if you want. Here's tasks. The way we have it set up, we don't do that. This is generally useful if you have like a workflow, an approval workflow that where like if you wanted to publish something, you would schedule it, but before it would go out, it would come route through to me or somebody else on my team, and we would have to read it and approve it, and then it would go out. But the way we do it, you just create draft content, and then we read it and use it, or we read it and don't use it. But if with the approval workflow, we could technically see a piece of content, look at it, see if we like it, how it's written. If not, we could either fix it or we could route it back to you to correct it. So it might work for some teams, but we have so many people in our workspace right now. It would be a mess to set everything up. So we just don't do that way. And then down here is shared content. And I'm going to show you what shared content is because you may have to work with it from time to time. So I'm back in the testing workspace and go back to the publish tab. And shared content is a goldmine if you know what you're doing with it. And it's really useful for program offices and VA medical centers. But McKenna, you and I don't know if I don't even know if Mason's really paying attention. I haven't heard anything from him. If you're scheduling content in Social Studio, one of the things you may have to do is take something from the Vantage Point blog. McKenna, have you ever been to the Vantage Point blog?
I have.
Yeah. So that was a yes. Okay. One thing that we do, actually, I'll show you in our Slack channel if I can get to it. We have a channel called The Feed, and I'll put this up right here. And we have it set up to track everything by RSS. And so every time a blog post publishes on Vantage Point, it shows up in the feed. And so what happens is right now, Sadie Daughtry is the one that's taking care of this stuff. And she will take, when she sees something pop in here, she'll, click the link and she'll copy it and paste it and schedule it for Social Studio, and like for our calendar. So that's stuff that will actually, because this is the official blog of the VA, and actually everything that shows up on this blog was already vetted by my team. And so one thing that she does is just schedule it on our social calendar so that we can use our own content. It just kind of takes us, one step away from us needing to do it. And it's very helpful because it's like, otherwise we would have to schedule every piece of content, not only for the blog, but also for social media. So she takes that step away from us, and we really, really appreciate it. But it may be something that you end up doing. And if you do, just know that there's a channel called Feed. And, okay, I have a child in the background, and I don't know why. So there's a channel called Feed, and you might have to monitor it to see new blog posts. So once a new blog post comes out, she will take it, copy the link, and schedule it on our calendar in Social Studio. But another thing that she can do, and she does do, is take that content and add it to shared content. And the reason that shared content is cool is because we're basically providing stuff for the entire VA to use. And so I'll show you this. So like, if you're a VA medical center, let's say, and you need to find stuff to use on your social media channels. Well, the Department of Veterans Affairs official blog is probably a good resource, right? But one of the things is that you would have to go to that blog. You'd have to go to blogs.va.gov, and you'd have to look and find all of the posts, see which one's actually applicable to you, and actually schedule them on your social channels, and that takes time. Well, thankfully, what we've done is we've had our interns and other people throughout the VA are starting to use this thing called shared content. And what it is you take a piece of content and you share it to this shared basically folder of content, and it makes it super easy for them to schedule it on their calendars. So this one right here, you can see it has to do with careers, mental health, and if you click on this, you can see it was from Vantage Point, and let's see, was it? I don't know really what platform it was, but I'm assuming it was a Facebook post. I'll go with Facebook, but it might be Twitter. I don't know. But let's say I want to use this for my Facebook post. I click this green button, use this content, and click Facebook post. And it takes me right back to it takes me right to the scheduling tool. So let's say I want to schedule it for my Facebook channel, and maybe I don't want to publish it now, but I do want to schedule it to go out later. So schedule from Social Studio. You won't be able to do that, but you will be able to save it as a draft. So let's click Save as Draft and see what happens. So now we're back at the drafts folder, but if I go over to the calendar, now it's on my calendar. So if I was a VA Medical Center PAO, I just got content, and I didn't even have to leave Social Studio. And it's applicable, I know it's applicable to the veteran population because it was on the official Department of Veterans Affairs blog. So this is very useful, and I think it'll save a lot of time for our VA Medical Centers and other teams across the VA. And so this might be something, McKenna, that you're involved in, is getting stuff to shared content. Speaking of to shared content, one of the things, like if you actually wanted to add something to shared content, let's say after you created a piece of content and like so you wrote this text, right, and you put a link to a blog post and you saved it as a draft. Now it's on the calendar. Well, if you want to send it to shared content, you click on this Share Content button, and then you notice it has a text. It has, the link is already done. It has the picture. It has a headline, description, URL. It has all the labels. And then at this point, you just choose where you want to share it to. I'm just going to share it back to Testing Workspace because I don't want to reshare this same post to everybody. But you, if you ever have to do shared content, you will share it to the entire VA. So you're basically taking content that was published on the blog and sharing it to every single team in the Department of Veterans Affairs. And that makes it available for them to use on their calendar. So you're really helping out a lot of people when you do this. So I'm going to share it back to Testing Workspace, and you'll notice that once I do that and click Save, I will get a little notification bell, usually. It's trying to make a liar out of me this time. Oh, you know what? I'm actually, let me check. I don't think I'm actually a user in here anymore. Because I'm a super user, I can hop in and out of spaces. But let me see, Dom. Nope, I'm not in here anymore. Okay, so only users in a workspace will get a notification that there's a piece of content shared. Since I'm not officially in this workspace anymore, I don't get that notification. But if I was in the workspace, I would get a little 1. It would be the number 1 on this bell, and I would know that there's a piece of content there. So I would go to Shared Content and notice there's a new piece of content in here shared by Dom and has all these labels on it. And then if I want to use it, I just click Use this content, and I choose the platform that I want to use it. And that's that. So it's very simple. Let's see what time I got. 3:42. All right. See if there's anything else that I can show you on the calendar that's useful. I think I pretty much did the whole calendar. Do you have any questions about scheduling?
I guess my only other question, and please let me know if this is more a question for Atifa and that team. I know that there's things on Trello. So how does that connect to this platform?
That's a good question. So the stuff that we have on Trello, actually, I'll show you a little bit. Trello. It's not necessarily Social Studio related, but it is internship related, so it is a valid question. It depends on which workspace that you're working in, which team that you're working on. But we use Trello a lot to manage work going on in the DME interns. Oh man, my Trello is stuck. It's thinking. I think I got too much stuff open right now. Anyway, so what we use primarily, we use Trello for is to, I'm not muted, right? Okay, is to manage like a workflow. So if I'm working on a particular piece of content, and specifically for the blog, that's what I use Trello for, is to manage the process of working on a piece of content. So I'll have, I don't know why it's taking so long, but I wanted to show you what we use Trello for. Okay, cool. Notice, is this the Trello board you're talking about, or is there a different one that you use?
I've been added to the Reddit board.
Oh, Reddit. Okay, cool. Well, then let me look at the Reddit board. I think the Reddit board is one where we you guys are out there trying to find content to use on our social media channel. So that's actually a really cool thing to be a part of as well. If only my social studios, or if only my computer was working faster right now. But basically for the Reddit one, that's oh, I can find it now. Reddit, cool. Let's go there. Oh my gosh, it's so slow. Okay. This is for finding news stories for us to share, and I can't go to Reddit right now because my VPN blocks Reddit. But the Trello board for Reddit is specifically for finding new posts to share on social media. So basically, you're going out and finding stuff for us to share on social media, and it's generally veteran-related stories or VA-related stories. Notice a local veteran does his part to stop the spread of COVID-19. Highly decorated Army veteran and author to be featured guest at Veterans Plaza dedication. Now, is it possible that you will be using this board and scheduling this content? Yes. Apologize again for the puppy. He gets a little crazy sometimes. So it is possible that you will be using this stuff. And the reason that these end up here is because interns will find news stories and add them to our Reddit board, and then you guys will vote them up or vote them down on Reddit. And the ones that rise to the top, like the best stories, are the ones that get added here. And so if something is added to the Twitter column, or to the Twitter, list, basically, then you can add that story, you can add that to the calendar in the DME calendar for Twitter. So you would add it for Twitter. If something is in the Twitter and Facebook list, then you would add it for Twitter and Facebook, and you would just save it as drafts. So yes, this is actually a useful thing. Notice there's nothing in here right now, so unfortunately, there's nothing here. But if it gets scheduled, once it gets scheduled, it gets moved over here. So you see virtual telemedicine option available for veterans in Wisconsin, Vietnam Veterans Honor Fallen Battalion members at SLC reunion. So all of these are posts that got scheduled, and it was an intern like yourself that actually went through, and once it was, once it made the list here, went through and took that and put it on the calendar for Department of Veterans Affairs. So it's actually pretty cool. You get to actually go through and do this stuff. And then once you add it to the calendar, just so you know, and don't feel bad if we don't actually use it, because, I mean, we have to make editorial decisions as to what we can and can't use and what we, should or should not use. So, it may be that, now is not if there was recently, darn it, if there was recently a shooting or something, maybe you don't want to talk about veterans practicing, shooting sports, we have to make some decisions as to what, we're going to share on social media at any given time. So you may find that a post that you scheduled for Wednesday at 5 as a draft gets moved over to Saturday at 1, that may be something that happens, but don't feel bad. We may not even use any a post that you put on here. It might be a good one you thought, but it just wasn't right for our audience. And so don't feel bad. You're trying to help, and you're giving us options to add to the calendar. And if we don't use it, it's not your fault. It's just, sometimes it's too busy. We don't really have the ability to share anything else. Let's see, did that answer your question?
Yeah, that answered my question. Thank you.
Great, you're welcome. Let's see, what time is it? 3:48. We got about 10 minutes. Do you have anything else you want to go over? Does anybody else have questions? From Mason. Hey, Dom, as an Instagram moderator, would I use Trello? Let's see. So as someone who's a moderator, it is not necessary that you will have to use Trello. However, keep in mind that just because you're an Instagram moderator doesn't mean that you can't do other stuff too. And if I were you and you wanted to do more than just moderate Instagram comments, you could talk to Atifa or whoever's your department head at the time and say, hey, is there something else that I can be working on? And because I don't want you to get bored. So you might be involved in this, in which case, you can actually go through and you can ask to be added to this Trello board, the same as McKenna. Hold on a second. Sorry about that. So yeah, you might be able to get added to this Trello board, and then you can take part in the scheduling as well. Also, if you wanted to work with the digital media engagement interns profile, I don't know if you saw this, but we actually have a DME interns Facebook, a DME interns Twitter, DME interns Instagram, and a DME interns LinkedIn accounts. So you might be able to participate in this as well and help find, write, or schedule content for the DME interns social channels. The reason that we set these up is so we can use them as a tool to recruit more interns for the next term, because it's kind of hard to get to fill out a full team. Sometimes we don't have maybe enough web developers or graphic designers because they're highly sought after, because graphic design is a very useful skill, especially in the realm of digital media. So we're trying to recruit them actively, and so you could probably help out with that if you wanted. But definitely ask Atifa or whoever your department head is if she's identified somebody to you, and see if there's other stuff you can get involved with. Does that answer your question, Mason?
Awesome. Thanks, Dan. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. If you have any other questions, feel free. I got another 9 minutes.
I'm all good with questions. Thanks again for hosting this. This was really, really helpful.
You are quite welcome. I see I got one from Mr. Pataki. In the Engage tab, can I follow a specific Twitter page that would be interested in that we would be interested in their content, or is it just a general topic? Oh, buddy, yes, you can. And let me show you how. So let's go. Actually, let me go to the testing workspace, and I will show you the Engage tab. And let me load up another tab to do something else. Admin. You're going to need to see some admin pages. Admin. And then on this page, I'm going to go to source groups. And on this page, I'm going to go to topic profiles. And this was a very good question. So thank you for asking it. Notice there's a bunch of topic profiles in here. And I'm gonna show you one in particular. Actually, I think I have DME and Sec Wilkie Twitter, okay? And the reason that I want to show you that one is, notice I have DME and Sec Wilkie Twitter here as a column in my Engage tab. And I'm going to go ahead and add it in a new tab. I'm going to add a new tab here so I can show you how I added this. Create a tab. And I want to add this as a topic profile. But first, I want to take it all the way back to how do I set this up so that I can follow a particular person? Well, notice we have DME and Sec Wilkie Twitter right here. And this is a source group. You can create source groups of your own. And notice I named it DME and Sec Wilkie Twitter. And if you look, this is basically just a link to a Twitter account. This is twitter.com/DepVetAffairs. If I copy that, paste it, you'll note that it just takes you directly to the Department of Veterans Affairs official VA Twitter account. And you can do this for, and we did this not only for Twitter, but you can do it for Secretary Wilkie. While playing around, I did it for Leo Shane. I believe he works at Military Times. You can do it for pretty much any social media account that you can find. You can do it for Facebook accounts as well as Twitter accounts, and probably Instagram accounts too. I haven't tried it with Instagram, to be honest, but you can probably do that as well. But I wanted something where I could just follow the main Twitter account for Department of Veterans Affairs and Secretary Wilkie. So you go in here, you copied a link to a Twitter account, and you just paste it. Now, another thing that you could do is technically, I believe you can type @DepVetAffairs. I think you could put a handle in there as well, but it works just fine for me when I'm doing the full link. So I would recommend that you do that as well. And now I've created a source group. You're going to want to make this group. Usually I make it public. You might make it private, but I usually make it public so I don't have any sharing issues when I'm hopping around in different workspaces and stuff, although it might not be as big of a deal for you because you only have one workspace to deal with. So I guess you could probably keep it private if you want. But this is a source group, and this source group is only useful to you if you pair it with a topic profile. Now I'll show you. I have a topic profile named DME and Sec Wilkie Twitter. And a topic profile, I could go like a whole hour talking about topic profiles, but let's just kind of summarize it here. A topic profile is basically a list of keywords, and these keywords are what you would use to pull in content related to a particular topic. So if you wanted to pull in content related to COVID-19, then you would use the keyword COVID-19. Notice this one doesn't have any keyword groups. I could add keyword groups, but I don't want to because I'm using it just as a holder for a source group that I just created, the DME and Sec Wilkie Twitter account. But I can add a keyword group. So like if I just wanted to see, actually let me open up a different one that has a keyword group, coronavirus 3. And if you look, I got a bunch of keyword groups. I got stuff like GI Bill, Mission Act, VA healthcare, compensation, life insurance, and coronavirus. So I'm trying to pull in anything having to do with veterans and VA and stuff, but also paired with the word coronavirus. Because I want to see stuff that our audience is talking about online pertaining to the coronavirus. This turned out to be a pretty bad keyword choice because nobody used corona space virus. They all use either COVID-19 or coronavirus all as one word. But, you kind of learn how to tweak these things after the fact. But that's what it's usually for. And then after you create your keyword groups, you can then add source groups. So let's say I want to only see stuff that has the COVID-19 keyword or keyword group and also is from the Department of Veterans Affairs. Well, I can choose, right now I have exclude all because I know we're posting a lot of stuff that has to do with COVID-19 and I don't want to see it in my feed because it's my account. I don't want to see all my own posts. So I can choose the source group and exclude everything from that source group so that I don't see it. Or I can include everything from that source group that matches the keyword group that I use so that I can only see stuff from, let's say, Leo Shane or some other reporter in the military space that has to do with the coronavirus. I could include all matching, matching keyword matched content. That's a thing you could do. Or you can include all content. And including all content is the way that I set up this DME and Sec Wilkie Twitter account right here. Notice there are no keywords, so I can't match it to anything. But I did choose to include all. So notice include all content. And so because of that, I'm pulling in to this topic profile, I'm pulling in every single post that these people make. And so if I go over to my Engage tab, if I add the topic profile, DME and Sec Wilkie Twitter, and click Apply, you will now see every tweet from the Department of Veterans Affairs or from the Secretary. Notice Secretary Robert Wilkie. Secretary Robert Wilkie. You will see every tweet from both of us. And it'll just pull right into this feed. And so you can create your own source group to follow literally anyone. You just have to also pair it to a topic profile. And that topic profile, add that topic profile as a column here in Social Studio's Engage tab, and then you can follow basically anybody. Does that answer your question? That's the best answer I got, so I hope it did. Okay, good. The other cool thing is once you have these topic profiles set up, you can use them in the Analyze tab. And maybe we can do that for a topic for maybe like next week or something. If you want to ask me about that, I can go do a little deep dive into the Analyze tab of Social Studio. It's running kind of slow right now, so I don't know how helpful it will be anyway. But I think that's all we got for today. I usually do this for about an hour every week, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I do appreciate everybody for showing up and asking questions.